final, it should be quite a close one.
But we are going to head to Overpass now, the final map of the series between Endpoint and Vexed. Let's throw it back over to our casters.
Thank you very much, boys. Yes, this second semi-final has been tit for tat for sure. I mean, the first map, it was Vexed. They were dominant. Then Endpoint bring it back, but not quite able to do it. The second map, the exact same story, but the opposite way around. Will Overpass continue to deliver these storylines? We'll have to find out. We're about to have a meeting of pretty much the entire team, 6 players at the moment in this connector area. Are they going to be expecting this? Especially on the T side of things, it looks like it. Pretty easy stuff as Laney finds one, but just working together, making sure to find the trade frags off the back of each other. And now a 4 versus 2 with no players on the B-bomb site for Endpoint. They were really banking on the fact that they were going to catch everybody off guard. Nice flash comes in for ZNX, to be fair.
And he has another one primed as well. So as soon as ZNX moves his way up through short, he's going to be able to clear out these angles using that flashbang as well. Max trying to create a bit more space, but ZNX has been dropped. Now it's just Max to try and bring things back, and he cannot hit the shots. The connector presence is certainly there, but Vexed were more than prepared.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's something that we talked about on the first and on the second map. Both these teams seem to do really well with the momentum. And obviously we've got Vex picking up the pistol. If they're able to string a few more together, they could get off to a flying start. Just to kind of highlight, by the way, they did knife 4 sides. I would assume, it was just obviously off stream, I would assume Endpoint won and have therefore picked the CT side, but obviously Vexed have got a fairly comfortable T side, so you never know. You never know, but I feel that's generally the way it goes. It's difficult going into the CT side with the deficit because, you know, the economy game is much harsher.
Yeah, there's far and few teams that will actually actively pick the T side outside of a map, maybe like Dust 2.
Yeah. Cobble back in the day.
Yep, that is also true.
If anyone remembers that map.
It's been gone for a long time.
It has been a while, hasn't it? Like it's been almost 3 years since Dust 2 has reworked.
Yeah, okay.
You know, just time flies. It really does.
I've got the memory of a goldfish. That's all over. Of course, we did get the information from our lovely production staff that it was Endpoint that did win the knife, and Laney, he's able to get both the kills he needs to over at long. They've been lurking their way up slowly but surely towards A, and now that this becomes a huge problem because Laney's got a rifle, he's got a long-distance rifle as well, that he can take these fights comfortably against the likes of Fraser as well as King Mezzi.
Yeah, and I mean, even in a situation like this, the thing is, on the pistols, you can aggressively rotate. You can play it a bit riskier. They're okay to let the bomb go down. It's now a question of, you know, moving forwards together. Can they overwhelm with the numbers? We'll find out. Fraser pushed up a little bit here. That cheeky grin on his face right now as he is trying to find a bit more of an opening for his team. Obviously, we've still got this Krieg on the back end of things. Let's see. Laney, there you go. He takes down Mezzi. However, he's the only one left. He's also left on 6 HP. Thankfully for Vexed, they are able to clean things up. The superior weaponry over 80% of that Endpoint team is enough to carry them on through, and they will indeed manage to pick up the second round. But it is very, very costly early on.
Yeah, that could have been a lot worse. I think they needed Laney to be a bit more impactful, take a few more fights in terms of bringing that into a round that would have been at least in contention for Endpoint, but taking initiative as well, understanding that because Laney had kind of boxed them in, they didn't want to be left in a position where they're trapped on the bomb site and they need to worry about every single avenue into that same position. They're able to at least dodge a bullet there. The Krieg is still in Laney's hands, however, and because he has armor, a kit available as well, this still is a round that could be somewhat competitive should Endpoint find some sort of early advantage, but Fraser and Link will combine for the first opening kill. In fact, Fraser gets the second one through the wall as well. Why not? Laney is still here on B at the very least, but Vex, they'll have that information to play off of. They've got the picks they need to, and they've got the majority of the map at their disposal, but the bomb dropped. Laney gets it in transition.
Oh, and Ardis is on the flank here. The bomb drops towards him now. Finds a bit of damage onto Cray. Really doesn't want to fight that one on his own. This has suddenly become a very problematic round for Vexed. Laney going to push forwards. Cray takes him down, though. Just catching him off guard. Ardis now in a 1 versus 2. They're going to peek in together. He's playing it safe. He's playing it slowly, but he's a little bit wider than he was expecting. Walks out towards the side. An easy pickup in the end. So, again, crisis is averted. but at what cost?
Yeah.
You know, normally what we see is kind of, you know, the one pistol from the T side, and suddenly 3 or 4 rounds in, their economy is completely out of control, right? But the most amount of money here is Cray on 3.2k, which is really not a great deal, in all honesty, considering they've got 3 rounds in a row. So there's definitely a chance for Endpoint to pick up this first rifle round, and then all of a sudden, Vex find themselves in an uncomfortable financial situation.
At the very least, things will go well for Vex in terms of early damage. ZeniX down to 9 HP as a result of a bit of spam, bit of shots to the legs. Now Vex just securing some early control for themselves. Endpoint not playing very far forward, so they don't have that sort of watchtower kind of response, and that somebody spots them out early, can maybe fall back, and that way they'd be able to kind of rotate players as they need or see fit towards each of these respective bomb sites, thus allowing some pretty easy control for Vex to secure in the early stages.
Deep smoke towards long. Will maybe give a bit of the game away, but they're still not convinced. Using more utility over on B if you take a look at your mini-map. They really don't know here on the Endpoint side, and Vexed are banking on that. They're playing the mind games, running the clock down Na'Vi style, and they will indeed look to go for a late execute. How is it going to go? Artist needs to be smoked or flashed or dealt with early, and that's not really the way to do it. The dry peek coming in from Cray will result in a frag for that AWPer. He's still alive. He's able to play around default, but looks away from long at the wrong time. Mezzi, meanwhile, will find Laney. The A-bomb site suddenly is ripe for the taking with some very nice deep smokes. They have a lot of room, and now a 4-on-3 ensues that is looking pretty much impossible for Endpoint. You know, it's the B rotators, the low HP of ZeniX. They do not fancy their chances.
And it's far too rapid of a site take, right? They kind of rotated in a third player in towards B, and by the time they get the information that it is going to be an A site, the bomb's already planted. They just made their way in towards lower CT. Even if they wanted to commit for it, they'd have to all walk up, and at that point you don't know whether Vexed have kind of pushed through a smoke or taken aggressive bank control. It's a far more risk than reward, especially when the economy is in the position that it is for Endpoint.
Good for them, though.
Yep.
I'm assuming they hold on to the 3 rifles there. Obviously, we've cut away to the beautiful Vexed team. Mezzi closest, Cray furthest away.
Keeping those 3 rifles,
they
can drop these weapons over as well.
Right, so it gives them so much room to buy back into it. But Vexed, off to a very strong start. I mean, it's been really, really close. I wouldn't say, you know, it's as kind of one-sided as it looks at the moment. Endpoint, again, it's this whole thing we've been saying the entire series. A game of inches, and Endpoint this time around are a little bit behind. B-Rush coming in, though, gives a chance towards Endpoint, running through smokes, spraying through smokes. It's the CTs that are coming out on top of things, as it's now into a 5-on-3. Cray, he will find one, but immediately traded back as there's 2 more players to be dealing with down there. Down goes Adam as Mighty Max catching everybody off guard. It's all on to Fraser. He's found one with this AWP. However, he gets flanked out in the end, and Vexed, I don't know, guys. You're doing well with what you were doing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they go for a B rush. Sure, Overpass is known for them, but it's a little disrespectful, and it's kind of around the Endpoint. They'll be happy. They will take it with open arms.
Well, of course, as well, we throw back to the point we made, that was made on the desk as well, in that Vexed are a team that they have an IGL that's willing to take these risks. And
well, yeah, that's true.
They went for the triple boost, or the quad boost rather. Although Fraser doesn't seem to be getting anything from it. There's a lot of time that could be wasted as a result of this. But
I believe if you shuffle towards the right, you can see a little bit in towards short there as well. But unfortunately, I don't think anyone really pushed deep enough. So yeah, to no avail. And like you say, that's a good 35 seconds gone, and they've barely moved out of T-spawn.
And all the meanwhile, Endpoint have taken control of short, but the flash is perfect. It's well timed. Imi was caught in transition as he looked to reposition, and ZeniX falls as well. So the B bomb site suddenly becomes very compromising. There is at least a little bit more presence here in Mighty Max, and so far he's been able to get away with absolute murder. Cray hits the deck, and there's no immediate response for Vexed.
Yeah. Mighty Max still around. Artist did get Molotov'd out, thankfully. Finds a kill onto Link, though, evening up that scoreline in terms of the man power. Mighty Max perfect timing as he hears that bomb plant coming in. Doesn't find the second, though. He gets the easy one, misses the hard one. A 2 versus 2, but a trap 2 versus 2 with Adam on the CZ. Not really ideal. Clean double spray down from Laney. And it will be Endpoint to pick up another round to begin to close the gap, so to speak. But again, as we've spoken about, the CT side is where they normally flourish, so they are going to need to keep this trend going, maybe pick up 5 or 6 in a row before they end up dropping around, because otherwise, you know, Vexed are going to get that momentum back and start running away with things. I think, looking at what's going on, got a bit of a pause here.
It does seem as though, I mean, we look at a round like that, you get the double entry if you're Vexed, and you still can't close out the round. It's a bit troublesome, right? You have made it as easy as you possibly can, but nobody was really in a position to hunt Max down. And he's just able to have so much impact on the round and make it into a situation where it was, instead of a 2-man advantage, equal numbers exchange.
If you have a confident B anchor on this map, it can really make life difficult. And I think Mighty Max does very well at moving around those kind of nooks and crannies. The timing was absolutely perfect in the previous round. Sure, he doesn't, you know, get the 2K, but it's, again, it's that space, it's that time that he creates for the rest of the team, as well as, you know, picking up a fair number of frags. Ooh, this could be dangerous, though. Ardis with the AWP here. He will manage to get one. Is he going to be able to drop back? Maybe he needs to find this frag. It will come in. Beautiful response from Laney as well to help him out. And that's going to be the AWP saved at the end of the day. Fraser will take down Imi, but that is all she wrote for that round. Endpoint, fairly clean stuff once again. Starting to build up a bit of economy, a bit of confidence, etc., etc., etc. It's looking very good.
Yeah, the fact that they're able to get 2 in a row is certainly bodes well for Endpoint, especially when they get the one they're supposed to, right? Vexed only on upgraded pistols for that round. It wasn't supposed to be that competitive, and although things look dicey, like you said, in good positions to kind of support and allow Artists enough space to establish and get that 4K for himself. Yeah,
and thankfully they didn't have any armor, so he gets a nice crisp USP. 1 USP.
Bit of jump spotting on the slide. Maybe just enjoying himself.
Well, this is what worked out really well for Vexed in some of the earlier rounds, the earlier rifle rounds, was the slow, kind of methodical, thought out, you know, maybe catch some aggression off guard. In this particular round, it looks like in Connector, right? And then if you don't get that, or if you do get that, regardless of the fact, they slowly move the default forwards as a unit, and then in the final 40 seconds, 30 seconds of the round, they will throw down the execute, so to speak. That's an awkward one for Mezzy, though. He makes a lot of noise, not accounting for the fact that Max was up close. It's an early advantage, therefore, for Endpoint.
Ooh, a bit of aggression in towards Long as well, but Laney's not able to get the kill. It would have likely been traded out as Adam had a supporting player relatively close by, but for now it'll keep things equal. Endpoint still expecting some sort of an A hit. The close rotation is there. Imi able to do significant damage alongside ZNX, who alleviates that pressure. He needs to lock things down on towards Banana, but he's traded back. Fraser and Link at least tagged up from earlier exchanges, and so Imi and Artis can thrive. Endpoint, although they got off to a rough start, they've equalized the game once more, and again, it was a pretty flawless set of rounds from Vexed at one point, but they lose that one round, and suddenly the momentum shifts.
Yeah, for sure. Again, it all just seems to be kind of teetering on that knife edge. Really difficult to call. Onto the pistols once again. Vexed are going to try their damnedest to do some damage, to get a bomb plant in this round and make life easier going into the final stages of this first half. I don't know. I'm not sure with Overpass which way it swings, but it is kind of the way this half is. They're both on their preferred side, so they really, you know, both teams are banking on having an advantage going into the second half for sure. It's really going to make the difference who has that lead, and looking at it, it could be really close, but we did see Endpoint, obviously, really heavily edge forwards in the first half of Inferno. Ooh, Ardis got the hops moving forwards. Will spot out a player, of course, throwing a nade up. Laney will find Cray. Artist managing to survive here, trying to go for the no-scopes. Gets taken down, swapping to the pistol.
Ooh,
Imi with the clean double, though. Link has got his hands onto an AWP, meanwhile. Lands a no-scope. Don't give him too many opportunities here, boys. You've got the bomb down. Just play it safe. Okay, Laney does find it as maybe not quite as comfortable on the AWP as he would like there, Link, but all the same, it will be a tense one towards the A-bomb site.
Yeah, that almost looked like an instance where Link was going to be able to find that isolated engagement because he spotted out the foot of that last player in Laney on the site that he needed to be concerned about, but just unable to hit the shot and bring it into what could have been a very close 1v2. Endpoint will take their first lead of this game so far, or at least this map so far. Meanwhile, Vexed looking to try and explore other options. They haven't really gone for this sort of fast, short control early into the rounds.
Yeah, true. It's something a lot of teams work off of as well, is having that early short control, that early aggression. Just to have a secure area that gives you a lot of room to play with.
And it's something that Endpoint have actually been denying in a couple of these rounds as well, even if it hasn't really worked out for them. We saw Imi and ZNX holding it down before, and then ending up getting double entry. But at least the initiative is there from Endpoint in what was... And traditionally, when Endpoint have played this map, they've played very, very passively around a kind of star AWPer. But the fact that they're going for more aggressive peaks and going for these early pushes shows that they're trying to kind of change the game of what Vex would have anticipated.
Vex seem very unsure of themselves in this round, honestly, Michael. Like,
yeah,
aggression towards short, moving back and spending so much utility to clear out the playground area, not even very deep in towards long or A. And now they're back towards B. They've got ZNX to deal with, and they will do so quickly. No utility required, which allows them to save it for a little while longer. Mighty Max catches off Mezzy. Oh my goodness, and gets the spin around. Collateral double spray down. He finds a huge 4K. Mighty Max coming alive, and that is going to be Endpoint once again, continuing this momentum. And I have to comment, I mean, I was going to say something anyway, but now it's like even better. He's sat in that spot at the top of, well, the B side of short, pretty much the entire round. And we had a bit of, trained on him on the player cam. His eyes were just trained on the angle. No distraction of the time, of the mini-map, of, whatever else is going on the screen. He was just holding it, the Undertaker Mighty Max. And he does his job perfectly. Taking 4 into the grave. And easy stuff.
And that's, as SEO was saying, another max round. He's had a couple so far in this game already, and that's as max around as you can get, really. They line up perfectly for him as well, and he locks down the angle he had to, like you said. And so far, outside of the first 4 that Vex were able to get, it's been all an Endpoint show. The tides have really turned here.
Indeed.
It looked like it could have been potentially a runaway half, given the nature in which Vex were winning the rounds. Obviously, it would have still been early days.
How the turns have tabled in this series, to be honest. I mean, it was all about Vexed on that first map. It's been all about Endpoint ever since, to be honest. But jokes aside, they are looking really, really good. And I think it is, again, a similar situation to the first semi where we've got the looser, more confident kind of momentum-based team. And then we've got the team where the expectations are running high. Moving in towards A, though, bit of utility expended here. Some missed shots coming through from Artist. Imi will find one, but yes, Laney in on the back. Actually only able to get one. It's all about Imi getting the 4K. Bit of a shame that we missed that from his perspective. Everybody happy about it. He's getting a bit vocal, of course. Eco Warrior Imi, but you need it. You need it. Really good stuff coming in, and Endpoint, again, continuing to string them together, looking super clean.
And I think that's one of the things that teams anticipated coming into this kind of matchup and this tournament, or rather the finals as a whole for Endpoint, is that they didn't expect Imi to really perform, but he's actually been putting up the numbers in the same vein that a lot of the other Endpoint players have. Oh my days.
Nice.
That is very, very well timed from Vex to at least eliminate one of the players that had a standout performance in the last round.
Very little time, if any, to respond to that as well.
He didn't even see them. He was
exactly
purely focused on the jump spot.
And that's maybe the early advantage that Vex need. Again, though, maybe a bit unsure of themselves, just looking to run that clock down. Endpoint have decided, you know, because they have an aggressive position for Laney, they are in fact going to stack that B bomb site, and that appears to be where Vexed are going to end up. So this could get messy over on B. An AWP trained on the edge of the pillar. Oh, he's going to miss his shot, but he's got a lot of teammates in tow. Finds the head of Link through the smoke. In comes ZNX, meanwhile, to pick up one of his own. Ard is still alive, though. Mighty Max still in at short with that strong Krieg at the moment. However, Mezzy, he rips open that B bomb site. Max going down for the Molotov. Doesn't commit to the spray, unfortunately, for him. Just waiting for Laney, waiting for his teammate, playing it smart. In comes Laney from Monster. Fraser, you've got to be ready for this. The very least, have a bit of a check or something, because Laney has got your number right now. He will move a little deeper in towards the B-bomb site. Is that going to make the difference? It won't. Laney finds his head, catches him off guard. It's all on to Mezzy. Already got 2, looking for 4 in the round. There's kits available. There's a smoke down. The defuse coming in. Got to find it quickly. He's not able to do so. Laney takes him out, but I don't think the spray was quite on point from Mezzy. It's a close one for Endpoint, but again, they're stringing them together. It seems to never stop.
Yeah, Endpoint have really turned this half on its head, and we can talk about it a number of times, we've repeated it a number of times, but it did really seem like Vexed were going to get a nice start and build a buffer enough so that the rest of the half wouldn't have mattered, but Endpoint have at least secured the half victory. 8 rounds, from here on out, everything is kind of icing on the cake. It, of course, want at least 9, just so that they have a little bit less of an importance put on the pistol round. And a default-oriented setup here from Vexed. This time it's not one player kind of standing out on the Vexed side, is I think what is a bit concerning. You don't have Adam kind of leading the charge like we saw on Nuke. You don't have Mezzy as well contributing in the same vein, and although it's a 1-for-1 exchange, it's going to be traded what would have been in favor of the Vexed side, but they've caught the lurking presence in Cray.
Just not as smooth as they would want on that Vex side. Just as they feel they have that maybe chance of getting back into things. It's not quite looking as clean. Link, broken spray down. Imi makes quick work of him. Now a 4 versus 2. Mezzy 4-11 in terms of the frags. It's not going so well. This young talent is disappointing on the final map. How many times have we heard that across the course of Counter-Strike? And down goes Fraser. It just looks all too easy. They're taking the 1 versus 1s. And, you know, Vexed are just not feeling it. It's almost deja vu from earlier on, you know, at the Fierce matchup where they just seem to have dropped off a cliff.
Yeah. I mean, this is 9 in a row, right? That is outlandish. I mean, this could potentially get into a position where Vex don't have an answer, and thankfully, like we would have hoped, attack pause is called. They at least need to discuss something. Pull out a pocket strat that you may have under your belt, because the one thing that really catalyzed this run for Endpoint was the pure disrespect, like you had said, just pushing on to B and getting bodied as a result of it.
Well, hopefully something changes for Vexed. So we've talked about their stronger T sides. Maybe they can pick it up on the CT side, but they're going to need some more rounds than this, in all honesty. You know, again, Endpoint are just flying right now. Cray started off well, but again is kind of, you know, lackluster here towards the tail end of this first half. A half buy coming in from Vexed, a fast B play coming in from Vexed. However, the CTs are holding it down pretty much perfectly. Mighty Max is still around. He's as yet to show himself. Is he even going to be required? No. ZNX does pretty much all the work. A bit of a helping hand from Imi, and they will hold things down. No bomb plant. I don't think a single frag coming in either. I'm not sure if Imi went down in all the carnage, but a fairly flawless one once again from Endpoint. Really clean stuff.
They've just got so much money anyway. That
yeah,
this being the last round of the half. Yeah.
Balling out of control.
If only they could transfer that into real-world cash. Redeem it now. At least that would be what Endpoint were hoping for. But there's the pick for Artist. The bit of aggression coming in as Endpoint have certainly been feeling or seemingly understanding how Vexed are approaching this one, but maybe getting a bit too brazen. Imi starts spamming through. He receives the spam right back. He will have to sit on the sidelines as a result of that. But this maybe comes back to what they were talking about on the desk. Maybe now Imi can coach them through it.
Yeah, true. I know that some especially players like him who's maybe, not quite as warm as it were as everybody else on the team. They kind of like to be dead because then you don't have to focus on mechanics and things, just the macro play. Speaking of, Laney pushes in at the perfect time, drops Adam, and now throws Link for a loop. He's like, hold on, guys. I got to figure out if we're getting flanked out here. And meanwhile, Cray and Mezzy want to push forwards. They're stagnated. They're having to spend a lot of time moving in, and that's really given the game away again as those rotations come in from the CT side. We've got Zed and X on the ramp looking to push up. Oh my goodness, very lucky there. And Mezzy actually able to chime in to find the frag into a 3-on-3. Laney making a lot of noise at short, but he drops Mezzy, and Mezzy going for the wide swing with the bomb, drops it right at Laney's feet with only 30 seconds left. Not too sure about that decision, bud. I understand you've got to take the fight, but I kind of feel let him come to you at the very least rather than now making life so difficult. Beautiful timing from Mighty Max. And Cray can't find anything either.
Yeah, that's very questionable in the sense that,
to put it nicely,
just because you look at the idea of whether they have utility to kind of take that fight, whether anybody can really cross and help out, because all the utility had faded. All they had was a nade, a couple of players, one of them which was low HP. It's, of course, like you said, a troublesome angle to deal with, and he felt like he needed to take the fight. But I mean, this reeks of a bigger issue, right? I mean, you start off the game well, you get those 4 rounds, and then Endpoint just win every single one to close out the half. 11-4. Something has gone askew, especially when we talk about Vexed as being this core roster that have been together for so long.
Yeah.
And they kind of understand how each player plays, and maybe this does lend itself into the fact that we don't see Vexed actively pick this map. Maybe that is a bit of an issue in that they got the pistol and the rounds they needed to afterwards. Sure, they win the first gun round, they win the round subsequent, but then the second gun round comes around, Endpoint maybe are clued in that they're going for these slower styles, or they've maybe got a bit more utility to come around, especially being on that second buy. That was enough to change things. Let's hope after that Vexed have a firmer grasp of how to approach their CT side, but it's again connector presence that seemed to be the play for the CTs on the defense, but this time there's absolutely no presence on B, and Endpoint have recognized it. They've got the bomb planted, and they have the advantage that's being pushed further and further forward. At least they're able to chime back with a couple, but Ardis is right behind. He's lurking, and he's gotten the kill onto Mezzy. Link trapped between so many angles. The round streak continues for Endpoint.
Yeah, and the question is, how far will it go? I'm not sure if there's any kind of record. Well, I suppose 16 would be the general record, right? But you never know. Some kind of crazy overtime return, yeah. I mean, it depends on which side you're on. You either love to see it or you either hate to see it. It's certainly a bit disappointing from a spectator's standpoint that Vexed have not given us the run for the money that we were expecting, to be honest. And yeah, they take, I think it was their pause, they take a tactical pause before the pistol, come up with this plan to run through connector, and Endpoint just kind of read it. They're in a position where they can go for a disrespectful B rush, because why not? And it actually works out perfectly. So Vexed, it just continues to get worse and worse. Whatever they try fails, you know, individually not looking so good. As a unit, the calls, the plays, not really working out in the way that they would want. They're now on the CT side as well, where they have less room to dictate the pace and make aggressive calls and things, because it's got a lot more risk associated with it. And I think they're on their uncomfortable half. They're in an uncomfortable position. The game's not going so well. They'll peek out from connector here and might just be able to find a couple, although Mighty Max picks up 3. I think that's going to mean that, you know, no more damage really going to be done here by the CT side. I say that. We're suddenly in a 2-on-1. But yes, nothing else coming. I mean, it's a lot of damage considering they invested, what, like $300 in total as a team?
Yeah, just about. I mean, keeping only 2 players alive, that's certainly going to have some impact on Endpoint's side. But I mean, that has to be Mighty Max's position. It's his prime spot. CT side, he had a number of multi-kills and had pretty consistent impact from that position. Yeah. Even on the T side of things, he's able to get the same amount of it done, defending the B bomb site nonetheless.
I feel although Laney has the most frags for his team. I feel Mighty Max is definitely the conductor of that Endpoint hype train. You know, he's right at the front, all aboard.
Yeah,
we're going to the finals, boys.
And Imi's had some really good rounds as well. They've, in fact, the Endpoint individuals have all had kind of individual moments where they've all shown. That's not really come through from Vexed. We look at their star and consistent fraggers in the likes of maybe Link, Mezzy, Adam as well from the first series. None of that is here. None of that's really been brought forward, and I think that's really beginning to dawn on them that this is almost becoming an insurmountable comeback for them to really pull through.
Right. I think the thing is, it's sort of like you may be doing a puzzle, and Vexed are kind of the type of person where you do it all very methodical, you know, you have everything set out, and then if it doesn't work, it all falls apart. Whereas Endpoint are just like putting random pieces together and hoping it works, and it actually, they end up completing the puzzle way faster than Vex. That seems how it's going at the moment. I say that, Adam does fall there. I was going to say, you know, Cray had opened up, it was looking good, but Adam kind of getting caught off guard. Cray gets another, though. Certainly coming alive. Fraser, is he going to be ready for this player that's pushed in? Mighty Max has snuck forwards. He is ready for it. He finds one, not quite the second, but is that going to be enough? It's now a 3 versus 2 with Laney on low HP. There's a kit available for 2 players here. There's also 2 flashes available. The only issue being they're kind of pushed out somewhat. They're all coming in from this kind of B area rather than pulling off a flank. It's bank, it's dumpster. They're your 2 options. Fairly tight choke points. So it could definitely swing in favor of Endpoint here. There is full potential. Flash comes in. It's not quite good enough. Double spray down from Ardis. He finds himself now in a one-on-one and lands it. Clean headshot coming in. Ardis with the 1-on-3, giving it all that. He is out there. He is loving it as he is chatting smack to the boys, of course. A beautiful 1-on-3, and I feel like that's got to be the nail in the coffin, surely.
That had to be the round, right? You've got an advantage. You've got some of the pieces that are necessary, but
right. Everything is set up for you.
Yeah, even with the numbers that you had, I mean, Ardis is in the prime location to just shut you all out. And I mean, how do you move from here? I mean,
playing for the overtime as well, 11 rounds in a row. He damned if you do, damned if you don't in terms of the force buy and things. Yeah, you got to feel for him. You got to. We have sympathy for Vexed, I think, but we have kind of glee and happiness for Endpoint because they have really picked things up as this series has gone on.
Yeah, potentially a 3rd installment onto the back of that trophy for Endpoint as they set themselves up as best as they can to meet Wind and Rain in the finals. Of course, Vexed, there's of course always a possibility that they can bring this forward, but Endpoint have been so dominant in this game, and it's really just been a battle of who's... it's almost like an endurance run. Vexed have maybe just run out of steam.
Yeah, they were in the lead, kind of, you know, 10... good positions ahead of Endpoint, but Endpoint slow and steady wins the race, of course, and a fairly clean round coming in, not losing a single player. They've got 11 match points in a row here, folks. This is certainly their game to lose at this point.
Yeah, this needs to be flawless from here if Vexed want any hope of bringing things forward, getting into the finals, facing Wind and Rain. They were one of the favorites as well. We had the upset in the first semi-final. It could, I mean, it's shaping up to be another upset in the second, but Vexed, they'll start things off well. This is potentially a 5th round that they could register. Ardis on low HP as well, outside of the 2 kills that they found in the early stages, but that's not going to discourage Endpoint. ZNX moves forward, he gets one in response, and it will be traded out. I think this could finally be another round registered.
I don't know, man. It's kind of similar to, you know, what happened on that first map for Endpoint. It's like, where has this been? Where has this confidence suddenly come from? Is it the whatever, man? You know, it's going to be tough. Maybe we don't have a chance. Let's just go for it. But we need to see a little bit more of that initiative early on in the game rather than just towards the end, because it's that age-old adage, honestly, that applies so much to kind of this level of Counter-Strike, of like up-and-coming teams where maybe they don't quite have as much experience, as much confidence. It's kind of too little too late. When the pressure is off, they're not so fussed. But as soon as, you know, that pressure is on, as soon as there are expectations for them to perform, they play it safe and almost too safe, which is exactly what Endpoint want. They don't want to have to be reading into what you're doing. They just want to play their own game and hope that works.
Yeah, and it takes away from what you're trying to accomplish in being one of the kind of powerhouses in the UK, is that if you take away an element of your game in which that you can go aggressive, you can go for some of these brazen peaks, then suddenly you become less of a threat. You're more docile. You don't need, the opponents don't need to treat you with as much respect because you're not even challenging them in these problem positions. This time, Vexed again try and go for some sort of a pick. It's Fraser that opens the door for himself. Sometimes we see a pick like that, whether the AWPer is further back and a teammate will do that, or just nade open the door, but it just doesn't work out, and they've lost now 2 players at the start of this round.
Yeah, and this is the thing as well, right? So Fraser going into that, he's not quite cool, calm, and collected. It's not, like you say, the door being open for him. The beauty of the player cams, he was talking, he had his eyes on his mini-map, and he got caught off guard. Because he's not 100% confident in himself. He's not 100% sold on that play that he's going for. He's just kind of, you know, half-arsing it. It really showed in that situation because the AK should never be beating the AWP. That's not generally how the equation goes, right? Ooh.
Ray will try his best to try and answer back, equalize the affair as best as possible. And now all the hands, all the pressure falls onto Mezzi. He gets the first, he springs into action, able to take comfort in that truck position, but now Link has it all to do. 3 players to find and a multitude of angles to clear as he goes on through, but at least he has a kit.
Walking through the smoke, slowly but surely. He will reveal himself, and Mighty Max finds the final headshot. A little bit of a shame that it was kind of a lackluster showing from Vex towards the end, but it will, of course, be Endpoint moving forward to do that final. The 2-1 fashion, the reverse sweep coming in, 16-5 on that final map. Kind of closer on the first 2, and you know they're all so happy about it as well because they'd come into this kind of a little bit disheartened, not expecting too much. But Vex, similar to that first semi, really crumbling under the pressure.